Not a lot of doll stuff this week. The biggest highlight of doll things was Josh was having a little de-stash sale, and he had some female action figure bodies that female action figures are really, well, I liked Barbie my whole life. I never grew out of Barbie. I had like 2 years where I pretended I didn't like Barbie, but obviously that didn't last. And I liked Barbie through the 90s, well into adulthood. I always wished she could move a little better though. And then in early 2001, I was in Toys R Us and found a Get Real Girl, well, the whole Get Real Girls dolls. I bought Skylar, the snowboarder, and I went home and looked on the internet to try to find more information about them. Now remember, this is the internet in 2001. It is not the font of information we have now. It was more like a little dribble of information back then. So I could not find anything about Get Real Girls, but I found these things called Cool Girls, and that led me down the rabbit hole into the whole world of female action figures. So, well, I did stay with that. I got back into fashion dolls as fashion dolls started getting better articulation. I still have a soft spot for female action figures. So I took Josh up on his offer of the sale of female action figures, and they came, and it's this. I'm censoring her a little bit, although I did snip them off because they were really pointy. But I will say my era of female action figures came before the whole soft skin, rubbery skin thing. So while I like female action figure proportions, I don't like the squishy. It makes it hard to dress, it makes it hard to put a head on, it makes it hard to modify. But see, I got 2 from Josh, and this one is the intact one, and the other one had a few rips on it. So I decided to go ahead and see what was under that rubbery skin, and it's this, which as soon as I saw this, I thought, oh, this is a robot in the making. I hope I'm in the frame. I feel like my camera's pointing way up, but I'm too stubborn to stop it and go and start again, so hold on, where's my chair? There, now I feel like I'm looking at the camera. Of course, now my head's probably off. Anyway, so if you follow Nicole Brewis on any social media platforms with pictures, you know she does a lot of robot girls, and sometimes she'll do it by just taking a plain body and painting different parts of it gray or black or whatever and stenciling things, and she makes very cool looking robots. So this probably will be a robot girl, and it comes apart at joints, and there's like screws all over the back of this, so I can take this apart thoroughly, so it doesn't even have to be painted one consistent color. It can be painted different colors in different parts. And I initially thought that maybe would either carve into or attach things on the large human looking expanses like the thighs and the arms, but I went back and looked at the Nicole Brewis pictures some more and realized that she stenciled things on them sometimes, so maybe big numbers and or manufacturer marks or something. I just have to figure out what to do about this neck, because this is super floppy. I can fit a head on it, but it just flops to the side because it's designed to use the resistance of the rubber piece to let it pose and stay upright. Foot fell off. So I need to figure out something. See, one thing I didn't like about where action figure designs went is, you know, fashion dolls, you have a solid neck and then the head moves at the top of the neck. Action figures, some of them have it at the top of the neck and the bottom of the neck, but a lot of them, like this one, actually move the articulation down to the bottom of the neck, so it can't give as much expression, I think. So if I were to fuse this in place so it could hold the head up, the head would not be able to tilt around on this very well. That's if I'm just working with what I have here. I could graft a million different things onto it, but part of it will be deciding which head to put on here. I don't know if I want to do something really cartoony or something kind of realistic but painted row-body. Because I do still have that knockoff Novi Star's head with the one mechanical eye. So I could do something really ridiculous like that and like make the robot body pink and glittery too, but I don't know. That's something that'll probably be a while before I get to it. And I am also seriously tempted to take the rubber off of this body and try my hand at sculpting better body parts onto it. Because I like the shape, I don't like the rubber. It makes it hard to dress, although I know the target market for this doesn't want to dress it and it wants to use the squish, but not me. So, and it makes it hard to find it. And this is really gray too, so if I sculpted stuff onto it, I'd have to paint it so it could be any body color. Or I might experiment with just taking the arms and legs and sticking them on other torsos. You never know. So that's what I expected to get. And Josh is a sweetie, so he sent some extra things, like this modern Barbie head on an old style articulated gymnast Barbie body. The blue painted fingernails, I think this is probably one of the corduroy cool dolls from the 90s. I forget who was blue. Teresa or Skipper. Maybe Barbie. Anyway, maybe it's not corduroy cool, but there's somebody, so for some reason it has blue painted fingernails. So, like I said, I haven't many of this head. Yeah, there's no cracks. So this isn't, yeah, more of a later 90s body. Early 90s bodies, these necks almost always crack because metal plastic wasn't that, didn't have much longevity. So I haven't done much with this kind of head, but I like this body. You can cut apart the fingers if you want, but the least I do is hold the hands over the coil on the stove, the electric stove, so the hands get soft enough that you can shape them. So they're not the karate chop hands, you can at least put a little bit of slightly graceful curve to them. And then you can paint the whole body because fewer joints mean fewer chances to scrape. So I can always use this kind of body. He also sent a Beatrix girl's body. I'm assuming it's Beatrix because they were in a band, I think, but me being me, I want to pronounce it Beatrix because that's the name in Europe. And I think these bodies are cute except for the arms are way too long. So since they're all vinyl, I could probably cut the arm off here, drill a new hole into it, and then stick the peg from this arm up into it. But cute little body. And he also sent a Project MC Squared body, or in Project MC2, I'm not sure, that I realized was a much better color for the Janae head that I have, the old Integrity Toys Playline Janae dolls, or Janae. Again, I'm not sure how to pronounce it because I was never exposed to any marketing for it. So I messed around with taking that head off of the Barbie body, which was too pale for it, and also putting Janae heads on Barbie necks ends up being really tall unless you alter something, and I didn't. So anyway, I put this head on the Project MC2 body. It's a much better color match. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good, and the neck's not nearly as long, so the head doesn't look so high up. It's still floppy. It's still not the best connection. I just right now have a bunch of, well, one big clear elastic, you know, the clear elastic bands that come in doll packaging. If I'm frustrated, I'll cut those apart, but usually I'll carefully unwind them and save them so I can use them for this and for putting hair up and stuff like that. So I'm happy to have this head on a much better matching body, and these torso sculpts on the Project MC2 dolls are really interesting. The arms and legs are a bit thin for my taste. I will probably leave her arms, but I might try to figure out how to put other legs on her. Partly just so she's not on tubes, but also because the feet size in the Project MC2 dolls, they're either large and flat, which you can, I'm probably going to have more luck finding stuff to fit, or they're large and super high heeled. And the only shoes I have that fit the super high heeled bodies are, well, the other one I have has this pair of V and Va shoes that really don't fit very well, but they're close enough. and said can't be too picky with what I have. And V and Va, of course, is also by MCA Toys, who makes Project MC Squared. And then I discovered, after I sold my Bratzilla's doll, I think I sold her, I had her for sale, but I undressed her and took her shoes off, so I suddenly had a pair of Bratzilla shoes, and they fit, which of course, because Bratzillas are also MGA. So she has one pair of shoes on this body as it is that really fits, and another pair of shoes that kind of fit but somebody else is using. So that's another reason I might try to swap different legs also. They're not, the different legs wouldn't be quite as floppy. So anyway, so I spent some time today trying to get the head not to be super floppy and to dress her, and of course, since dolls are for your aspirations, it's like 92 degrees Fahrenheit outside and the humidity is probably pretty close to that, so of course I dress her for a nice toasty, warm fall day outfit because that's what I'd much rather be living in. So, I'm happy to have her on a better matching body with interesting torso sculpt, but eventually the legs will have to go. And of course eventually, because I'm really not doing doll stuff right now. I want to, but I'm sewing and I'm still dealing with that scrap bin. I started going through it. I had this idea that I would make a bomber jacket, or varsity jacket, or baseball jacket, or whatever you want to call it. It's like all the same shape, just with different ribbing and sleeve combinations. Anyway, I thought I'd make with that kind of jacket out of what's called crumb quilting, which with crumb quilting, you just take a scrap and sew it to another scrap and sew it to another scrap, and sometimes you have to cut weird angles and make new angles. Normally when I sew scraps out of the scrap bin, I square them all up first. They won't necessarily be squared, they could be rectangles, but they will have straight sides on grain, and that, like the way it looks, but that does take a little extra time. So I thought I would just try crumb quilting and see if I had enough to make a jacket. So I started going through the bin and sorting stuff. Of course, I already had a bag of Halloween themed scraps, which I had been sort of keeping separate for years because Halloween. And I didn't really want to make the first jacket. I wanted to do test jacket first. So I found more Halloween scraps in with the rest of my scraps, so I sorted out more Halloween scraps. And then I had another bag of scraps that I sorted that was sort of
goodbye.
light purples and black and white prints. And so I started adding to that. I also added grays and lighter pinks and mauves, and so I got this huge bag. I figured there's probably enough in here to piece together to make enough cloth for a jacket. But while I was doing this, I also realized that these colors, I want to make a motorcycle jacket. And I do have a pattern for a motorcycle jacket. I've just never used it, and at this point I have like 5 other cloths that I want to make into motorcycle jackets. So eventually, I love jackets, I just don't live in a part of the country where I get to wear them a lot. I should really start wearing jackets in the winter instead of cardigans. So then I want to do that for a motorcycle jacket, so I decided, okay, I need more prints to pull for a bomber jacket. So this time I pulled sort of teal and green and darker pinks and reds. And this is a recycled bag from something that someone very kindly sent me that, yes, had old Barbies in it. And so I started making I got this bag of scraps going, and I was sorting it out, and I was thinking, well, what if this turns out not to be enough? Well, I mean, yes, I could pull pieces of larger bits of cloth from my other cloth resources, which I will eventually show. So I started also sorting out, like, these are colors I like. These are colors I like and wear, and of course, Halloween. So I started also pulling out colors that, if I couldn't have enough to make into a jacket, I wouldn't be heartbroken because they're not really colors I wear. It was like orange and yellow and blue and green and brown. And so I started piecing that. I had another bag about this size, and after I got that bag done, I just got sick of sorting through the scrap tub because I'm sure I could keep doing it, but it was starting, all the fuzz was starting to get into my allergies, and there's probably fuzz floating around here still. So I took 2 days of randomly going through there to fill the bag, and then on Saturday morning I threw it into a box and just started grabbing the stuff out of the box and sewing it together, and I got enough stuff pieced to make the 2 front pieces and the back piece and the sleeves, and there was still a lot in the box, so I'm sure there will be enough for a jacket in this, and even for the more complicated motorcycle jacket that who knows if I'll ever make on this, and maybe even someday a Halloween jacket. But I went ahead and started working on the orange and greens and brown and blue, and this obviously is the front and the back. I'm to the point where I need to sew on the pockets, sleeves, and I have the other bits of ribbing so to go. I'm still not sure if this is a good idea just because these are so much not my colors. Let's see if I can get this to lay flat when I show it to you. Probably not. So I will be working on this, and I already know who I'm going to give it to if they like it once I finish it. So this is my thing now. I'm not doing dolls because I'm working on this. When I'm done with this, I'm not going to jump into other sewing immediately. I actually need to get back to doll sewing as thank yous for people. But the next big project I plan on doing after I sew this scrap jacket is I'm going to pull dolls for another sales trade list because, like I said, they're getting to me. I need more space. And the only other thing I can think of is that I am having another few people over for a little informal doll meet this weekend. So I will still be doing doll stuff and talking dolls with real people, which is always an exciting thing if you can ever do it. If you, not just to strangers, not just going to a doll show where there's not even a chance to really even be any dolls that you like, let alone people who have your same doll interests, but if you can find doll people to talk to in person, it's such a novel, great experience that I'm glad I will be able to do it again. And in the meantime, I have fun talking to you on YouTube, and I love getting your comments, and thank you for watching. Bye!